Been almost 1 month since a Nicholasville family barely escaped a fire that engulfed their home. One person died after being taken to UK hospital with serious injuries. Now, as WKYT's Maggie Rickerby shows us, the community is coming together to help the family as they're still without a place to live.
On September 18th, Lori Corson woke up in a room full of smoke. She and her family lost everything in a fire.
If I wouldn't have woke up when I did, then me, Rocco, and Jim would be dead right now, because nobody knocked on our door and told us our house was on fire.
Since they've survived the fire, they are without a home. Right now, they are living with their dog, Rocco, in between a tent, car, and a small trailer donated to them by a friend. When Helene hit Kentucky, their tent was flooded, and the belongings inside got wet. While they are recovering, Corson says they're in need.
We need charcoal and ice and water to drink. We got clean water, we need water to drink.
They also need rechargeable flashlights, extension cords, foods like hamburgers and hot dogs, bleach, dish soap, dog food, large sports bras, and size 7 underwear. Not only was the fire physically damaging, it left mental scars too.
But I still see the flames flickering at night. I can still hear Joey screaming. I can still hear the sirens. And I gotta tell myself, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real.
But Corson said her boyfriend and her service dog, Rocco, have stayed by her side and helped her through the hard time.
We can't lose Rocco.
The family is hoping to get a temporary power pole so that they can stay warm during the winter. In Nicholasville, Maggie Rickerby, WKYT.
The family has a GoFundMe available to help pay for those needed items. You can find a link to that in this story on our website or inside our WKYT News app.